Hi all, I have another very exciting game of Mikhail Tal to show you against a very exciting player we've seen before a bit, and even against Mikhail Tal. We've got another two games on the channel already, so check out the Tal against Tolush encounters. This carries on the saga between them, the 1958 prestigious USSR championship. Tal playing white, d4. We have from Tolush in this game a Nimzo Indian. Tal steps with knight c3 here, not knight f3, which would be Queen's Indian territory. He allows that pin, the Nimzo Indian. This is the Rubinstein variation, e3, c5, knight f3. We have d5, bishop d3, both sides castle. Now here's slightly unusual, knight b d7. It does seem very logical, but quite often knight c6 is played, putting a little bit more pressure immediately on d4, and games have continued, for example, like this. Typical game continuation. So slightly unusual. a3, now c takes d4, so not moving the bishop back, or taking on c3 for that matter. So this is slightly unusual territory, and requires maybe a slightly unusual solution for even an opening move to think carefully here. What would you play in this position? So the opponent has not done anything about their bishop, instead attacking your knight. What do you think Tal played here, if I give you 5 seconds? Okay, I think he played actually one of the technically best moves, knight takes d5. This is slightly better than e takes d4. For example, here black could take then and take here and get a very comfortable looking position, you know, with pressure on c3, nice bishop. So Tal's solution here, this knight takes d5. So he's taking out a center pawn from black. Sorry, and black now played e takes. Now we have a takes. And you might think, why would Tal want this? He's got the double pawns. Well, the attacking player loves their bishop here. He's got the bishop here, and this dark square bishop in particular has no counterpart. So a very important trump card resource when you've got a dark square bishop like this and the opponent hasn't. So the dark squares could be influential in this game. D takes c, bishop takes c4, knight b6, we have bishop b3. Black has to do something about this center pawn. If he moves it forward, it's vulnerable immediately. You know, maybe white can consider things like knight d4 and surround this pawn. So actually we have d takes e3, bishop takes e3, and white, if he had a move, would take on d8 here and play bishop takes b6, winning a piece. So there's pressure on black's position with this bishop already. We have the knight moving, knight b d5, bishop c5, pressure already from that bishop. It's become a key player of the game. Rook e1, rook takes e1, queen takes e1. We have b6, and the bishop goes actually centrally to d4 in this position, and there's already some dangerous implications here. Black has to start protecting the back row. For the moment the knights hold each other adequately. We have bishop b7, but rook d1, and now this knight's stability is in question. White's threatening things like bishop takes f6 now. So black has to get out of this dangerous looking pin and plays queen e8. We see bishop e5 now in this position. So not only stopping the exchange of queens, there's considerable pressure on black's position. Queen, in this position, queen b5 was played. There's actually an exceptionally interesting variation in this position with knight takes b4, which you might think absolutely is crazy. But hold on a sec. This has been described, by the way, as from a Kibitzer at Chess Games.com as one of the most beautiful unheard melodies of all time. Dom Daniel. So queen takes b4. The idea of bishop takes f3. So if white takes, then queen takes here. So rook e1. Bishop goes back, and you might think white's winning a piece quite easily here with bishop takes f6, but carry it on, queen c6, threatening mate and the bishop. So it would seem in this sort of position, isn't black close to equality? Actually, no, this is all refuted here. Can you see what white can play in this variation? White doesn't have to play a move like f3. What can white play here? If I give you 5 seconds. Yeah, forcing move to show the dynamics of the position. Bishop takes f7. This is devastating. If king takes, then we just mate black in pretty short order. And if king h8, bishop takes g7 check, bishop d5, rook e7 check, and this position, believe it or not, is just great for white. Yeah, either black's getting mated or having to lose his queen, so that's great for white. Yeah, this is all behind the scenes here. There's, yeah, it's an amazing variation. So this is what Tal might have actually considered for knight takes b4, this kind of forcing move stuff. Incredible stuff. But yeah, in the game, queen b5 was played. We have bishop takes f6. Now, how does black recapture here? He actually played the ugly looking g takes f6, and the question must be asked, why? Best might have actually been the ordinary looking knight f6. There's certain issues for black on f7 here, and the best move is probably knight e5, just hitting f7 straight away. Rook f8. Say knight takes is dangerous. For example, like this is mega dangerous. You see white's crashing through there. So after knight e5, here, it's a very dangerous position, and probably bishop d5. This position here is best for black. Black's best go is with this line, where actually white's back row is in question here. So this line here, it's very, very interesting, and it's probably black's best idea. Here after knight e5, okay, I think the knight can go back now, and queen c4 check, and the game can continue. But that's probably black's best idea. Knight takes was actually black's best idea. So g takes f6, fracturing the pawns, does seem dangerous in principle. We have queen e4 now, putting pressure on the d5 knight. And you might think, hold on, isn't this refuted? Can't black play queen takes b4? With the idea, perhaps expecting bishop takes d5, but then black can play queen takes and have a great position. This would be ideal for black and justify completely the g takes f6. But Tal plays an unexpected move in this position. He treats this as basically a pawn sack. It was double pawns anyway. So what does Tal play in this position if I give you 5 seconds, starting from now? Okay, knight d4. It shields the queen, it protects the bishop. Furthermore, the knight might be coming to f5 at some point. It's a very dangerous move indeed. It means now bishop takes d5 is also threatened. So it does a lot of things with one move. Black is in a bad way actually here. If he moves the knight, we just take the bishop. So what black played was actually f5. another alternative, if black plays rook d8, this is very dangerous because can you see what white can play here? 5 seconds. Bishop c2, there's no shielding this diagonal with those double pawns. This is just incredibly dangerous for black. This line, for example, check. And here there's tactics for white. Knight e6 check on the queen. Yeah, because we've got that nasty pin on the knight. So there's all sorts of tactics which could arise from rook d8 here as a defensive try. So black tried this f5. This looks much trickier. Okay, we have queen e5. Now unpinning the knight really frees the queen for that devastating looking knight takes f5. This is a terrible scenario that black is now faced in. So bishop takes d5 is on the cards. Knight takes f5, which will threaten queen g7. Horrible position. We have knight e7. Doesn't seem entirely disastrous in some respects, but we have queen f6 now, and now f7 is threatened. Basically a mate in two. Queen takes f7, king h8, queen f6 will be mate. Just to show you that on the board, look at this. Queen and bishop cooperating for a checkmate. So black has to do something about f7 now after this. He plays actually bishop d5. Has black got away with it? Is he actually defending this position? There's actually two moves which essentially are decisive in white's favour here. Black hasn't really defended adequately. He's only in the short term defended f7. Black is in a very bad position. White has two crushing moves, and I'll give you 200 points for each. Can you guess Tal's move or the alternative? I'm going to show you Tal's move in 5 seconds. I'll give you 5 seconds here to pause the video. So what would you play in this position? A very cute looking move aesthetically. Tal played knight c6. Crazy looking. But it works. It really works in this position. It's forking the queen and the knight. It's putting more pressure on the bishop. Black is helpless here. The alternative, by the way, it is a crushing position. Knight takes f5 is also winning. For example, knight takes. Bishop takes d5 leaves the rook hanging, and this terrible mate in two threat still lurking, and the knight's hanging. So if black attends to f7, then we just take the knight piece up. End of story, really. So that's a clear, if you give yourself 200 points for that. But Tal's move is technically even a little bit stronger, actually, and it's more aesthetically interesting, I would say. It's interesting because, you know, the knight cannot be taken either way. Black, I mean, the bishop's also hanging here. Black actually took the bishop with the queen. If bishop takes c6, then we have the f7 story unfold again with the mate in two, checkmate. If knight takes, then we have bishop takes, nasty skewer. The bishop's no longer unprotected, and white's winning a piece there simply. End of game, basically. So yeah, black tried queen takes. Now the game continued. Knight takes e7 check, king f8, and here actually we have a nice move which is really quite crushing. What does Tal play in this position? If I give you 5 seconds. Okay, Tal actually kept, tried to keep possession of this file and keep the knight protected so that queen h8 checkmate is threatened. Other moves, I mean, they seem tempting, but has black got any resources? Rook takes d5 is actually one of the strongest moves, but it's not totally forcing checkmate immediately. Black might be able to play on for a few more moves with queen c2. If rook e8, yeah, black's still getting mated very quickly with check. Doesn't matter about the knight here because queen d6 checkmate. But in this line with queen c2, there's a few more moves to play. That's it really. We can black can play king e8, and there's still a few more moves to play. If king takes e7 here, then check, and then mate again. But yeah, Tal's move is just basically absolutely forcing checkmate when he played rook e1, although rook takes d5 is winning as well. So black's replies are extremely limited actually after this for what he can do. He plays bishop e6, but now doesn't need to be a piece up this line, doesn't need to be, because the king safety is getting extremely critical of the black king. Guess what Tal plays in this position? Very simple, very effective and deadly. 5 seconds. Knight takes f5. Yeah, knight takes f5. This e-file's important to stop the king escaping. Black resigned here. You know, if he takes, then we've got control. Queen h8 is checkmate. We're also threatening. Well, we're threatening queen h8 checkmate anyway, so there's really no defense. If the king runs, queen e7 checkmate. There's no running. It's end of game, this position. It's actually end of game. So black resigned here. 28 moves. Not as complex as some of the other two clashes. You might want to review those as well. But, you know, Tolush is a very, very exciting player as well. And he's created basically beautiful music with Tal for all of us to enjoy. So this installment 1958 USSR Championship. I hope you enjoyed it. Comments, questions, likes, all appreciated. Thanks very much.